All right, this is Joey Atlas back with episode number 2 in season 2 of the Fitness Whisperer podcast. And anybody watching this on video right now, you can see I've got another guest with me. And this is another good one, a really good one, because it's my brother, my younger brother, Dom Janusa. Dom, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Actually, we had you once before. That was a couple years ago now.
Yeah.
We did the audio version. I remember I did drop a few light swear words and somebody said I shouldn't swear because that's not me. So I'm going to try to keep it clean on this one, which I've been good with the last bunch of them.
Yeah, that's the truth.
Right? Okay, it's all good. So we did the audio one. Now we've got the video going. This is going to be dual. So anybody watching on video and you want to get the audio, make sure you search for the Fitness Whisperer podcast on your favorite podcast platform. And look for the Fitness Whisperer, hit subscribe. You'll get the audio sent to you automatically. Eventually, I have a feeling Dom is going to have his own podcast. That might be something we talk about here today as part of the journey unfolds in front of us. And if you're listening on audio and you want to see us on video, because there is some cool stuff in both of our backgrounds, we got to talk about that painting there, Dom. I got the home gym system behind me, but you can see our mugs, see our facial expressions. There might be a few good ones, mannerisms, etc. You get to see the comparison of my head of hair versus Dom's head of hair.
It's very humid today in New York.
He's got the hair. So if you want to see the video version plus other video versions and other cool things, go to joeyatlas.tv. That's JOEYATLAS.tv. That takes you right to my YouTube channel, which most of these podcast video versions are hosted on as well, in addition to some other things. So the title of today's podcast is How to Get Fit, Healthy, and Strong at Middle Age and Beyond. And so somebody might be thinking, well, why does he have his brother on here with him? What are they going to talk about? Right. So Dom, let's give any newcomers context on why it is you're here and what it's going to mean to this conversation. I think starting, if we dial the clock back and start where you made your personal entrance into health, fitness, working out, eating right, etc., remind me and tell the story to the listener and the viewer. How does that story go? How did you get into this?
Okay. I say I got into it much earlier than people know, professionally, obviously out of college, but from an early age. Some of your listeners and subscribers might know that, we were exposed to daddy, really. Right. And that was a big influence, I know, in your life and mine as well. Mm-hmm. Not too many kids, at 6 years old, 7, 8, 9 years old would see, their dad pumping iron, tanning, shaving down, coming up with posing routines.
Right.
So I'm so glad that we had that.
And actually using the chin-up bar that was in the doorway.
Right.
Not just leaving it there.
Right. That's right. Hanging from the bar. And then all the crazy stuff that went with it, having those Flex magazines and Muscle and Fitness and all the old Hercules movies and Arnold. And
right.
So there was always that, for me, that background of being interested in fitness and fitness then and what it is today. Yes, there are certainly some key differences.
All right, hold right there. Don't lose your train of thought, and I'll pull you back on. But this is just coming to me. That's why I said this is going to be great conversation that things are naturally going to come out with. Did any of Daddy's friends make any kind of impression on you, like the gym guys and girls? Like, did that play a part?
Oh, yes, for sure.
All right, give me an example or two.
I mean, I could go down the list, many characters for one. I mean, at the time, the women that were working out in those types of places where they were a little more hardcore bodybuilder type places. You remember the old Olympia in Brooklyn,
right?
And then there were some places here in Westchester. that we went to. And at the time, I think a lot of the females were really hardcore bodybuilding. You
Yeah,
know,
they
they were
were.
lifting heavy,
Right.
a lot of stuff that we would probably frown upon now.
Right. They were
Um,
eating chicken, broccoli, and brown rice, no
yeah,
fat.
hard boiled eggs, cans of tuna. Um, yeah, the old stereotype.
Right.
And for sure, a bunch of characters, a lot of, good character guys.
Hmm.
Um, definitely some good friends. We
Yeah.
made some
Yeah.
good friends, and we got to meet some interesting people.
You remember
Uh,
anybody specifically by name?
oh, oh yeah. Well, there was, I can't remember the old guy who owned Olympia. I don't know if you remember him.
Al
He,
Fives.
that's right. He had incredible strength. He used to be able to bend those steel nails.
Yes.
And he was decades older than our dad and all those other guys. And
Yeah.
he'd come in and he'd bend those nails, and he'd
Very impressive.
take them home and give them to us. We were like, in awe of that.
Yeah.
But I remember going there as a kid. he
Oh
took
yeah.
he took me, I'm sure he took you
Sure.
on separate occasions. And seeing those cinder block walls, and
Mm. The old school
metal
plates.
plates with rust and
Right.
dust. And yeah, so yeah, I remember his friend Vinny, and
Vinny Malone.
Vinny Malone.
Oh,
Yeah. But
yeah.
I was so intrigued by it. These guys were, like, to me at the time, like, superheroes.
Right. Exactly.
Um, real life people. I was into watching superheroes and Spider-Man and the Hulk, and you'd
Right.
see those
These
physiques.
people had those physiques.
Yes.
That was a really, really big
Yes.
connection for me. Like
Yeah.
I would notice these guys, Vinny Malone, his friend Sal,
Hmm.
some of the other guys. Like Vinny, we laugh, but he had an awesome physique,
Oh yeah.
like
Yeah.
gorgeous. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah. He
so
was very
aesthetically pleasing. Yeah.
symmetrical, and yeah.
But even the other guys who weren't so like symmetrical and aesthetically pleasing, they were
Hmm.
still like worthy. Like you
Oh yeah.
still
Yeah.
there was still this like wow factor when you saw, their arms and their chest, and
Hmm.
they had tight core and
Yeah.
shoulders. It was just, and they were happier. They were like, they had
Oh
energy.
yeah.
They were
Yeah.
happy. They didn't complain about aches and pains. Like they did stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there was a whole different energy around them, from them, and that they created by being amongst each other and around people, and that
Hmm.
that had a big impact on me, and
Yeah.
even the women too. Like even though we look back, like wow, there were a bunch of things we were doing, not so right, could have been better, but they still got the results they were aiming for.
Oh
they,
yeah.
they
Yeah.
still grounded out, and even some of the women were like, they had respectable physiques, and
Hmm.
you could tell they trained, like,
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
ate well enough to make things happen.
Hmm.
So that was a huge impression for me. All right, so back to you. That was a big influence on both of our lives for sure. More stories there, which we actually should talk about in the future. I won't go down that rabbit hole now, but we will, because there's some good lessons there.
But
So we fast forward into your early 20s. You're training, you're learning more, and how do you get into your career path that takes you here?
uh, well, so I played a lot of soccer.
Hmm.
Played all my life into college, and eventually got uh, the last injury I had in college. I decided I needed to focus on academics and figure out where I was going. But that time, spending time in rehab and physical therapy and dealing with all the injuries I sustained, had me interested in physical therapy and rehab. But I was very, very much interested in the fitness part too.
Hmm.
So I was able to juggle both, and ended up in physical medicine, chiropractor, physical therapist, physiatrist, and it was a multidiscipline place. So it was a good place to be. There were all different walks of life and different age groups, and uh, I was there for about 18 years. And I also kept the fitness part of my business going. So I would kind of juggle both back and forth.
Hmm.
In the clinic, it was more medically based, obviously, but there were times where we were able to give a full go to people to get them back to returning to what they were doing.
Right.
But most people in that environment were, you know, I guess victims of, you know, a terrible injury, a fall, getting hit by a car, uh, even sedentary lifestyle, aging
Right.
population, um, and then you know, workman's comp issues. So it was that was an interesting place to be.
Mhm.
I learned a lot by being there,
Hold that thought
and but
right
my
there.
fitness,
Hold
yeah,
that thought right there. Anybody watching,
got it.
listening, if you want to connect with myself, I should have said this at the beginning, but we'll say it again at the end right now. If you want to connect with myself or Dominic for any reason, any kind of consulting, training, on location, long distance, etc. Um, Dom's a little bit more local, but he is broadening his horizons, so he is able to do some remote work and is looking to do more. You can do this two ways. You can come get our freebies first at fitnesstraining.live. That's fitness training, TRAINING, fitnesstraining.live. That'll put you on my freebies list. Reach out to us. Let us know you want to get in touch with Dominic. We'll connect you personally with him. At the end of this podcast and video, I'm going to give you his personal email address. If you happen to be in like Greenwich, Scarsdale, Larchmont, Harrison, Rye, any one of those areas, right, Dom?
That's right.
Or
Yeah.
or long distance. So
That's yeah, exactly. Seeing
okay,
people, you know, in person, obviously,
right.
there's a certain radius I'll be willing to travel.
Yep, yep. And then of course we
But
got the remote stuff now, Zoom,
right.
possibly travel. I can travel on location now. I've freed myself up to do
Hmm.
that if necessary.
Hmm.
So that's how you can get in
Hmm.
touch with myself, with Dom. We'll repeat all that at the end because some people do want to explore getting in touch with us for real help. So your experience in that 18-year period, this is critical here. You mentioned something very important. You ended up working with a lot of people who got themselves into bad health conditions by being sedentary. So there was no accident, there was no fall, there was no being hit by a car,
Yeah, there were plenty of patients like
they were
that.
just
Yeah.
being sedentary, and that's what took
Hmm.
them down and almost out,
Hmm.
right? So you get to experience this after your childhood exposure to fitness and health and training and proper nutrition, and now you're seeing what it's really like for the sedentary person who's let themselves go, how deteriorated and how deconditioned they can become, where they actually need medical help to get
Right.
back to some level of functionality. So I'll let
Hmm.
you take over from here and then take us to where you are today.
Okay. Yeah. So um, with the rehab, the interesting thing with that was I'll get to that in a minute. But yes, there was a big part of our population that came through those doors was, I would say, middle age, aging people who fit that profile of not really being too active, not taking their health and fitness as a priority. Um, and, you know, the back problems, neck problems, shoulder issues,
Hmm.
you know, all sorts of
The whole
dysfunction
body,
with
really, the whole body when you think
exactly.
about it.
Yeah. And, you know, people would be oftentimes perplexed, you know, why I never had this and now I have this. Well, it's because you never really did
Right.
anything and, you know, you're not fortunate. Some people could go a lifetime without really doing much and they're okay. I mean,
That's
you
not the
know,
norm,
but
though.
that's not the majority of the population. Um, and so, you know, I was able to witness this over a long stretch of time. And my goals and the way I did things for myself too started shifting. It used to definitely
Hmm.
from we talk about those bodybuilding days, it was more aesthetics.
Right.
I really don't even. I mean, I shouldn't say that I don't think about that. We all want to feel and look good,
Hmm.
but more of it is how I'm treating my body and
Right.
what are the things I could do to increase my longevity and feel good. I'm interested in the numbers that I get when I go for my annual physical,
Yes.
right?
Hmm.
So those things are important, probably more so than the percentage of body fat. Although
Exactly.
I do care about that.
Right. Right.
Um, so getting back to some of these patients, It was really rewarding to see um, how some of these people would make progress, and they'd feel restored and have a renewed sense of life and being active and doing things, and they would take this seriously and incorporate it into their lifestyle and in a manageable way.
Right.
So I think, you know, you and I talk about this kind of stuff all the time, and that's obviously what precipitated this
Right.
conversation here on Zoom. That our natural talks are, hey, what'd you eat today? And do you see what these people are doing? So these people that I used to treat are many for years I run into occasionally and say, yeah, I still do my exercises. I'm doing well, and
Mm,
so yeah, you don't have to be in a gym and grind it out for an
right.
hour and a half or two. People are able to make progress and some great profound changes with just smart, methodical, disciplined little
Consistency.
routines. Yeah, consistency. Um, but the difference in if I take that demographic of that same patient in, let's say, 60s, in their 60s, okay, early 60s, the ones that would come, sometimes they would come and they would present themselves in a way that they would say, yeah, okay, what do I do? You just show me what to do. And basically coming to us like we were going to fix them.
Hmm.
So that was one type of patient in that demographic alone. The other ones would say, I want to get better. What do I do? I've never done this before. Is this how I do it? How many times should I do it at home? The ones that were proactive, it was amazing. This actually goes beyond just that. Even the people that were injured from car accidents and what have you, those were the people that made the most progress. It was amazing. And that was just, they could be doing the same thing, but even the mindset
Right.
of their positive outlook and being hopeful that these things can help them, you would see a real change. um, so those were significant impacts on me too. And I kind of, like, through the years, have dialed down, as you have too, some of the crazier things we used to do.
Right.
So more sensible.
Hmm.
um, and I do, I'll experiment too, and I kind of practice what I preach. I mean, some people would probably be surprised that I don't do much more than them. I've had clients who actually work out more than me,
Yeah.
and when I come along, I was like, yeah, you kind of got to dial back a little. I'm not
Right.
telling you to not be active, but you
Right.
don't have to do 2 hours of
Yeah.
working out.
Yeah. See a
We
lot of
dial it
that.
down, but increase your
And
activity levels elsewhere.
right.
Don't sit all day.
And changing
Or
exactly what they're doing for their
exactly.
fitness training, right?
Yeah,
You can
yeah.
spend 2 hours on something that's 50% effective, where if we dial it up to 90 to 100% effective by changing the style of
Right.
training and the methodology, then we can cut it back to half an hour,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, what you mentioned, like when I had to do stints in the rehab settings, and then also working with clients now over the years who come either out of rehab or actually want to avoid rehab through proper fitness training, it gave me an appreciation of how much, like you and I, even Marissa, our sister,
Mhm.
we're exposed to in terms of learning the basics even of
Yeah.
conditioning, and how what you eat affects your body and your health.
Mhm.
You know, you really, when you see people who were never exposed to that, and they're really just at ground zero, it really makes sense that people don't know what to do. Like
Right.
they don't. So all right, that's where we come in, right? It's time for us to
Mhm.
help them. So all
Yeah.
right, so take us to where you're at now.
Okay, so then after 18 years of being at this place, I decided to shift completely and focus on my outside practice. And so for a time, there was a lot more fitness based. I actually worked with a lot of kids. Parents saw the need to have their kids be active. And these were specifically, I worked with some athletes, but I was actually more interested in working with the kid who was not an athlete,
Right.
who was not coordinated, didn't have any physical outlets. They might have been more studious
Hmm.
and be into music, but parents the way information is traveling, understand that, it's important for kids to be active too. So I actually worked with a lot of kids who are some of the most difficult clients you could ever
Yeah,
imagine.
welcome to
The
the
first
club.
question, the first thing I always say is, does your son or daughter know that you want them to do this, and are they okay with it? So once we got past that, then it was a little better. So I still work with some kids.
Right.
But that has kind of shifted to actually where from the kid I would go to the parent, because that and to some degree was a little more dire. You have these
Right.
50 something year old people who are living a lifestyle that's just, it's like hard to imagine how you can
Right.
sustain that type of living, working very hard, which I have a lot of respect for. I see these people who work long hours, but with that, they've adopted some, poor habits of,
Right. And
you know,
and
really
lack
bad
of
sleep.
habits, lack of taking
Right,
care of the
right,
body and the mind.
right.
Yeah.
And, eating whatever they have access to.
Hmm.
A lot of times people who, at least where I am, the type of clients I see, um, they tend to socialize a lot and go out a lot and
Right.
travel a lot.
A lot of different
That's
eating.
challenging, but there are ways to navigate that
Sure.
too. And so that's where
Absolutely.
I come in. So I've worked with it's shifted now to let's say the last 2 years of working with hard to treat clients, right? People
Mhm.
who have done all different types of programs and still struggle with weight
Right.
and health. They may
Mhm.
not have any specific orthopedic issues or comorbidities. Um, and then also definitely a share of people uh, who have had, life altering illnesses.
Mhm.
Right now, I have two people who've had strokes, someone with MS, someone with Parkinson's, um, and that's really difficult to be around.
Mhm.
Part of it is seeing the struggle of wondering what they could have done.
Right.
Sometimes it's you know hard to understand or make sense of it,
Mm.
and maybe there are things they could have done, but we try to move forward from where they are. But you could
Right.
see the level of difficulty it presents on them, the caretaker, the family. Um, but having said that, we're making progress with even people who are dealing with some of these issues.
Right. They're still alive.
And
They
then I
still have
have some of
function.
the right, and then I have a few people who are, type A, highly functioning people who are working, like I described before.
Right.
And I actually feel a little anxiety being around them because I'm watching this saying, hey, you gotta do this. And they're on the phone until 2 in the morning and they're up at,
Right.
on a train at 6.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
um, so
Dangerous,
it's
dangerous sacrifice.
it's hard to kind of witness that. And yes, you don't want them to go down the path of some of the other clients I'm dealing with who've been through an awful incident. So those are the kind of people I'm working with more now. So it's not, low body fat as much
Right.
anymore.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
Although I think that's still an interest of a lot of people ultimately.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I think
yeah, I would say that's kind of where I am. Yeah.
part of the reason we attract people like this is because we're equipped to help them. Whereas, your typical, I want to lower my body fat, get muscle tone, drop excess fat, get an awesome visual aesthetic shape. A lot of those people still exist. Most of them gravitate toward, though, your traditional personal trainer, right?
Hmm.
Or
Hmm.
gym trainer, or you know what I think you and the listeners know what I'm speaking about. And then this is not a disparaging position in any way. It's just there are certain niches and crowds with certain needs and expected desires, and therefore they're going to seek out a certain type of trainer or fitness coach to
Hmm.
help with those specific things. Where the people that we're talking about, who we mostly help now, mostly, not totally, I do have a few people that are very interested in body composition, muscle tone, development. But
Mhm.
part of how we get there is
Yeah.
by me educating them on the more important aspects of taking care of yourself. So we're more equipped to help people that are serious cases who need a different kind of help and a different kind of perspective
Right.
and a different tool set to take them from the dangerous combination that they have going on in their own life and their body and mind, and then gently walk them forward in a safe way to help them build and rebuild and continue to build to get them to some place that is functional in life and to be able to maintain that. I think
Right.
that's one of the important things that sets us apart in terms of capabilities from the majority of the fitness coaches and trainers that are out there. But there's still a big crowd for those people, so I take nothing away from them. Okay,
Oh, yeah.
so
Mhm.
you're where you're at now. You're helping these kinds of highly successful, uh, high demand, high expectation people who've generally let themselves go and sacrificed themselves to reach this success, to reach these income levels, to reach these career milestones or business milestones. They've sacrificed their body, their life itself, and
Mhm.
now they need help. Sure, they've got plenty of money to pay for the best, but sometimes they've gotten themselves into such a tough place where letting them know how much time it's going to take to get to the next milestone on this road to recovery, it's hard for some of them to absorb because they're used to making things happen fast,
Mhm.
right? So as we get into the main topic here, how to get fit, healthy, and strong at middle age and beyond, give me, like, when somebody comes to you, what's the gist of the conversation in terms of setting expectations for somebody new?
Okay. Yeah. So you have to be realistic. So I try to, I'm always curious where they're at, what they think is realistic. And then I have my ideals, and I feel like what I've learned through all these years is pretty sound. I'm always open to listening to different types of research and reading and cross-checking things. You and I converse a lot.
Mm.
I do consider you a mentor also.
Likewise, likewise.
And yeah, and so I think actually for the most part, most of these people are not actually realistic
Hmm.
with
That's
what they
why I
think they
asked you
have to do.
this. Right.
Right? Yeah. Okay. So right. I'll give you an example. I mean, I have a guy. He's fortunately very healthy. He's overweight. He's highly functioning. He's an executive, high profile job, um, but he works just a crazy amount of hours. But he's very dedicated to try and get in shape.
Hmm.
um, but his idea of doing so is a little bit warped, and I don't really blame him. It's what you get from media, and
Yeah.
he thinks you have to
Society, culture, other
clam
people.
bags and flip tires and run and be out of breath and lie down on the floor and you can't get up anymore. That's not it. um, so I mean, there are times where actually I've said to him, you know what, let's find another day. You actually need to sleep. So there are some times where I'm that honest, and I'll
Mhm.
say, it's just, there's no point in me coming. You're totally exhausted. You pulled an all-nighter.
Right.
Just sleep.
Yeah.
It's okay. You're still going to reach your goals. Just take your time.
Mhm.
And you know, I've seen all these crazy diets and cleanses, and you know, um, I always say, like, look, if you want to do it, it's not a miracle thing. Like, maybe it might jumpstart something, but how many times have you done this through the years? And it
Yeah.
never works. You do it for
Right.
3 days, you feel good for a week, and a month later,
Yeah.
you're
It's
crashing in the
amazing.
same way.
It's amazing
So
like intelligent people
yeah.
will put themselves on this roller coaster, these
Hmm.
yo-yo diet programs, and and
It's-
it still doesn't register. And I think part of that is because there is so much out there. They're so confused that they just feel like, well, trying the next thing
Mhm,
I might find the answer in that next thing, right?
mhm.
So yeah, so keep going.
So I was going to say that it's very, very rare that I change goals. I think people have a good sense of what they want or what they need to change, but their idea of getting there
Right.
is way off.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes,
True.
um, the biggest thing is being disciplined and being consistent, and um, if they're able to stick to it, it might take longer than the ideals that they had. They're going to drop X amount of weight in a week, and they're seeing all these different things flood their inboxes of ways they can make these magnificent changes that are
Mm,
oftentimes unattainable, unsustainable.
right.
um, so yeah, I think the goals really don't actually change too much. I might point things out that I see, with, let's say, for flexibility, I see some real dysfunction. I see people are struggling, and they might be interested in dropping some weight and being able to, run a turkey trot or
Right.
something. I'll say you got to kind of work on flexibility, because you're trying to jog now. It's like driving a car with the brakes on. You're
Mm-hmm.
so unbelievably tight. So sometimes it warrants introducing something new that they were not really thinking about.
Right.
um, and then even for myself, I'm much more interested in working from the inside out.
Mm,
So we think of lifting weights, we think of doing things, and you're looking in the mirror, and yeah, that could be all fun, but it really, really comes from the inside. What you're putting into your body, how you're treating your body. Sleep is incredibly important, recovery is important.
right.
um, and even with specific exercises, uh, whatever I'm doing, I actually try to envision from the inside out what
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing, all the mechanisms that make me bend and
Right.
flex and squat and lift. Um, so the philosophy for me through the years has changed. I'd actually credit my wife, Liz, as a yoga
Yes.
instructor, and
Lizzie
that's
Liz,
been
Aunt Lizzie.
that's been pivotal for her in her life and mental
Yes.
health. And
Yeah.
so I've adopted actually some of that, and
Mm-hmm.
you could take some of those principles and put it into the traditional weight training,
Absolutely.
traditional body weight exercises,
Right.
and there is a bit of a crossover with that.
Yes.
So in yoga, it's a little more gentle and allow your body to do what it can do. And
Right.
so I try to adopt some of that stuff and think about what you're feeling when you're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Might sound to some people a little hokey, but if you give it a chance, and
Oh yeah.
um, you think
I
in those positive ways, it's really beneficial.
right. Right. It's
Yeah,
I mean that's kind of naturally weaved itself into my training, slowing things down,
yeah,
removing
yeah.
momentum, uh,
Hmm.
holding certain positions for a pausing isometric, um, controlling the eccentric. Yeah. So there's a lot of crossover principles there, definitely
Yeah,
from yoga, Pilates.
yeah.
So yeah, Lizzie Liz with the good work there, giving you the direct influence. I love it. So we're okay. So in addition to all the clients we train, we're middle age. Okay.
Hmm.
Give people
Or you are,
context.
you are.
So you're closing in on it. I consider
I know.
48 is middle age, my brother.
Yeah, I would agree.
All right. So at the time of this recording, Dom is 48. I'm 51, 3 years apart. Definitely in the middle age zone. Gen Xers, right? We're Gen Flex. That's what we're going to call ourselves.
Gen flexers.
Generation Flex, right? No Gen X. That's a new generation we're
I
creating.
like that.
There you go, Gen Flex. We're going to that might be your podcast, the Gen Flex podcast. I'm going to make note of this. That might be it.
All right.
All right. Because there's a big crowd that needs this. All in
There
Gen
is,
X. We're going
yeah.
to turn them into Gen Flex. Okay, this is good. So when we start working with people, we have three general areas that we know we need to address: psychological, physical, and logistical. Okay.
Hmm.
When I think about this a little bit. When I say the word logistical in terms of somebody now trying to improve their life through the proper habits and training and nutrition, et cetera, give me some of your thoughts when I say the word logistics. Think about you taking on a new client, them having to make adjustments in their life. What should somebody think about in terms, let's say somebody is listening to this right now and they're like, oh, I need to get in touch with these guys or one of these guys because I know they can help me. That person listening, we're going to tell them, we're going to change things from a psychological perspective. Yes, we're definitely going to change things from a physical training and feeding nutrition perspective. In all of that, we have the logistical perspective. How does all this stuff happen? Like, we're going to go from living this life like this that got us to where we were and we don't want to be anymore, and we're aiming to get now to this other zone of health, functionality, improvement. We have to change the logistics. How do you address the logistics with an average type of client who comes to you?
So it's always important to understand what their work environment is like, what their home environment is like, what type of hours they put in. Is there a commute? Do they travel? Are they sedentary? Are they at a desk the whole time? Do they
Good
stand
stuff.
up?
Good stuff.
Right.
Keep
So I
going.
like to get a real good picture of literally what their day is, even the small things.
Right.
Um,
The
and
logistics
then
of their day.
right. And then their home life, so are they there in the morning for breakfast? Do they have kids? Are they married? What is their situation at home? What is it like when they come home from work? Um, do they eat and then just watch TV? Do they eat and work? Do they eat work first and then eat really late at night? So many factors play into this,
Yes.
because in my situation with the hard to treat people, I've had many people have had such a variety of lifestyles that I've had very, very different ways of reaching those goals.
Right.
Sometimes it's working out multiple times a day. Now that can sound like crazy to someone, but it might be 20 minutes in the morning. They walk to go get their lunch. That can even count for a middle-aged person, for someone who was not even doing that kind of thing. And then while dinner's being made at home at night, another 20 minutes, if time allows.
Right.
Right. Sleep cycles too, another important thing. So yeah, it's important to get a good grasp on how it would work in their lifestyle. It should not be a major disruption. That's the one thing I always felt like it was. If it was going to throw off their life that much, they likely will not stick to it.
Right.
But oftentimes actually, it means sacrificing some stuff, and those might be like little vices that are actually unhealthy to those people. You know, socializing, where they're actually pushing themselves to go out, when it's not an ideal night during the week or the weekend. Now, those things it's really important to socialize, but sometimes you kind of have to sacrifice a little.
Right.
And if you do take that, if you do socialize frequently, it might mean, okay, you kind of have to modify what you order when you're out at
Right.
a restaurant. You might want to modify the alcohol consumption. Doesn't mean you're not going to enjoy life. You actually will feel a lot better when you start seeing some results.
Right.
And so, yeah, for me, yeah, getting a good sense of how it can fit into their life without feeling like a burden is very important. I don't want anyone to feel that they don't want to do it. But the truth is, that's sometimes it's natural.
Right.
I might feel a little unmotivated at times, but I know it's just temporary, a day or two here and there.
Yeah.
So I'm realistic, and again, it's just being a positive reinforcement, trying to get them to commit and stick to it, and find ways that it's achievable.
Right. That's you said so many good things there in terms of the logistics. I think
mhm,
a lot of trainers and coaches really don't pay much attention to that, let alone get enough of the details of that, because we're actually, when we come into somebody's life, or they come into ours and vice versa, they're asking us to help them change their life, right?
Hmm.
And so therefore it's going to require at least a minimum change in the logistics of their habits and their lifestyle rhythms, right? So how do we know that unless we get the details of that, right?
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
like, well, tell me about your aches and pains, your energy levels. What are your latest vitals from your last physical, if you even got one recently? We have to ask, tell me about your typical day,
Hmm.
right? Tell me about, and then there's layers to this, like depending on if the person is single, widowed, married with several kids. Who does the food shopping? Where do they food shop? How do you guys eat
Right.
the meals? Like, we need to know that so that we could then make the adjustments and the additions and changes with context,
Hmm.
so that we can keep it simple for them, right? Keep it doable, all of course with the aim of making it lifetime continuous, right? So understanding the logistics of somebody's life is just as important as understanding their body composition, or their
Sure.
cholesterol ratios, or their blood pressure, or their change in body weight over the last 10 years, or whatever it might be. The logistics are just as important, because we all, no matter what we do or where we're going or what we are doing, we all have the same 24 hours in a day, right?
Hmm.
So it's a matter of taking that defined block of time for every single person, seeing how they use it, how it's spent, where the adjustments might be able to be made, and then working into that so that they don't feel stressed or overwhelmed or feeling
Hmm.
like that we're radically pulling the carpet out from under them to lay out this whole new lifestyle from morning till night. I think that's one of the most critical factors, is that they feel like, oh, okay, like little bit of this, a little bit of that. We're doing this sessions. He wants me to do that for 10 minutes. I could do all this. I think, I think,
With when you're talking about the time, the one thing I just wanted to add
yeah.
is I oftentimes I will tell someone too that I see someone anywhere from 1 to 4 times a week, and especially for the ones that are less frequent. But even the ones that are 4 times a week, I'll say, you only have a little time with me each week. You have a lot more time alone.
Right.
And so it's important to really, you know, pay attention to what you're doing outside of our sessions. So it's not like I just want to show up. We do our work and I leave. I say, where are you going? Do you have stuff to do this weekend? Oh, you're going
Hmm.
out. So I'll ask those kind of questions because I'm genuinely interested
Right.
in how it's going to go for them.
Hmm.
So yeah, they have to keep in mind too that it's not just when I'm there. It's important for them to focus on details outside of our sessions.
Yeah, big stuff. So a couple
Yeah.
things come to mind. Even though the title of this is how to get fit, healthy, and strong at middle age and beyond, what we're talking
Oh
about
yeah.
here, people in their teens, 20s, 30s can and should be doing. These
Oh yeah.
principles are the same, but it just so happens that most of the people who seek us out are middle age and beyond,
Right.
looking for the specific help and improvements that they want. So every single person is different in what they're bringing to the table, some of them vastly different, but we still approach them with the same constructs of how we're going to change somebody's life, but of course, customized and adjusted to that specific person, their challenges, their goals, and the logistics of their particular personal life,
Hmm.
right? And I think there's a lot to be said about that in getting somebody to be successful for a lifetime in this without experiencing what they experienced in the past. So I did this for 6 weeks. It was awesome. But then we went to a wedding and I was, I never got back on track, or we went on vacation and I don't work out on vacation,
Mhm.
right? And so it took me, you know, it was really hard coming home after that. And before I knew it, 3 months went by, and then
Right.
I
I
hurt my
know.
ankle, and then I couldn't do anything even if I wanted to. But we hear these
Mhm.
stories all the time,
All the
right?
time. Yeah. Yeah.
So the other part of this, about this, is really important. And this comes up with everybody, because now I make it a definite point, and I'm sure you do just naturally. Middle age and beyond, we have lives that we're living. You know, us, like even us, we had this big
Mhm.
wedding a few weeks
Mhm.
ago, right, up in New Jersey,
Right. Yeah.
and it was awesome. We'll get to that maybe at the end of this or another day. The food was so good, and we enjoyed it. But here we are. You know, we didn't destroy ourselves, but we thoroughly enjoyed ourselves. But that's, you know, it's a big weekend for you guys, right?
Mhm.
We traveled from Florida. We stayed up there with you guys for 2 weeks. But that's life. Does that mean, because now we've got a big wedding, we're going to be in the driving for 2 hours here, 2 hours there, we're at a hotel for the overnight? Does that mean like we're done with for another year? Like,
Right.
for some people,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
true. Like that takes them
It
out for
happens.
a
Yeah.
year. But,
Right.
you know, and part of that's because they haven't learned the tools they need to own in order to be equipped to navigate those events, those
Mhm.
vacations, those weddings, you name it. There's all these things that come up in life that we still have to learn how to navigate the logistics of, so that we stay on track and we don't go backwards, right?
Mhm.
So let's talk about, as we're coming toward the end here, we've got some really good stuff. I know this is going to lead to more conversations that we're going to have to do in the future. So we're middle age. We went on this road trip. You guys were up there. We had the family get-togethers, the awesome wedding. Um, in how can I ask this? When you have somebody new who has a big trip or event coming up that used to take them off track and set them back, uh,
Mhm.
how do you now guide them to make that a successful event or trip or what have you?
The one thing I always say is to stay connected to what we're doing. And sometimes the definition of what they're doing when they're away or traveling is different than what we were doing at home.
Right.
Okay, but if I say stay connected, we'll discuss some of those principles we've been working on. The importance of sleep
Mm.
and not going totally crazy with alcohol and food. I want people to enjoy themselves, especially if they're going to a culturally stimulating place. And I think that's all great. But I would point out, hey, if you don't have access to a gym, just maybe increase your walking. We could do some of the floor exercises that don't need where you wouldn't need any type of weight. And I know you do a ton of that too with a lot of your videos, a lot of your clients.
Mhm.
So that's the big thing, is to stay connected. We might modify what they do. In fact, most of the times it's a modification,
Right.
um, but they are going to stay connected. It just may not be as frequent, not the same frequency as when they're home. Um, but for sure, sticking to the plan. I always say, come back from your trip and, at least maintain your weight if weight is one of the goals and if it's an issue. Um, and so, usually I think it's a sensible approach for when someone is going to be challenged with logistics, right? They're going to be
Yeah.
out of town. Sometimes these trips take them to places where they actually have more access to
Right. Right.
equipment and facilities. So in those cases, it's actually easier. They just have to be disciplined
Right.
to maybe get up. That's the other thing is with traveling. I'll oftentimes say best thing is when the earlier you can do it, the better,
Mm.
because as your day goes, when you're away, things pop up. But don't beat yourself up if you can't, because sometimes
Right.
you might start the day earlier.
Yeah.
Um,
The key word you mentioned is staying connected.
yes.
I think I truly believe in observations over the years, and I was a victim of this too early
Hmm.
on. When we leave to go travel, especially vacation or a wedding type thing or reunion, we disconnect from our personal responsibilities and the habits that we employ at home base.
Hmm.
And in disconnecting, we free ourselves to deviate from our normal routine, right? And a lot of people, they're not cognizant of this. It's just like they just think it, I'm going away, I'll get back on track when I get home, right?
Right.
So even though they could still fully stay on course, just like we do when we travel and our clients do when they travel for the most part, they can too. It's a change in mindset that's strongly facilitated by staying connected. Could be connected to us, their coach, connected to
Hmm.
their day planner, right? Connected to their day planner that
Right. Right.
or their electronic day planner. They still put their things in there. They could put reminders. I'm still going to eat
Hmm.
well. I'm going to enjoy myself, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm not going to get off my quote unquote personal program, right?
Hmm.
Maybe
Hmm.
we change it, we adjust it.
Sure.
Our example, what did we do on the New Jersey weekend for at the wedding? What did we do?
So that was after a night of, beautiful wedding, party hardy,
We did have a few
indulging.
drinks,
We
some
had a few
desserts.
drinks. We enjoyed ourselves. I,
Yeah.
was not saying, "Oh, I can't have that. I can't have this."
No, we earned it.
Um, yeah,
I,
but the next morning, it was not punishment. You and I discussed, "Hey, you want to go for a run before the big family brunch?" And that's what we did. We woke up,
exactly.
we ran, we were sensible. We didn't, run a marathon.
It was a
I took my
good catch up
phone.
run.
Yeah, yeah. Looked at a little map of a few miles, and we did something sensible. We got back and both did, some other little exercises.
Yeah.
And we were gone for a reasonable, amount of time, totally maybe an hour
Yeah.
that day, and showered up and went back to, joining the family.
Right.
We all went to brunch. It was great.
Yeah.
So no, it felt good to do that
Yeah.
and stay connected.
I would
And
not
my
want to do
my
it.
yeah, right. My routine typically, that was a Sunday. Sometimes I follow a schedule on specific days, would be different. So that was a modification of what I would be doing at home. But it felt great to stay connected.
Yeah, definitely.
Um,
I think we danced off a lot of whatever calories we took in.
yeah, we did.
I'm gonna see if I can splice in the dance clip of
Some
us on the
video.
dance
Oh
floor.
yeah.
Or maybe make that a separate video. But that was good.
Yeah.
We were burning it
You
up. I
might gain
know.
a few subscribers from that alone.
We'll put it on TikTok. That was so good.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
great.
awesome food. So the name of that place was, what was it? Locust Hill or Locust Hall Farm?
Johnson's Locust Family Farm.
Johnson's Locust Family Farm
Locust Family
in
Farm. Yeah.
Johnstown, New Jersey.
New Jersey. Yeah.
Much credit to them. If anybody's near that place, go check it out. You remember the name of
And
the
the
catering company?
I think it was called, I think, Toscano, an
Toscano.
Italian restaurant in the area that does catering. They did
We
an
need to get
unbelievable job.
we need to get
We're
the
big
exact.
critics too of Italian
Oh
food. It
man,
was phenomenal.
they knocked our
Really
socks
great.
off big
Yeah, it was
time.
great.
We have to get the name from Joe and Joe of the
Yeah.
exact place. I want to check out the menu, maybe even share it on the podcast notes for anybody who might be local there to
Hmm.
go check it out. That was some of the best food I've had in a long time. Make
Yeah.
a
I'm
really
not sure we should be telling people to do this, but the point is you can do this kind of thing on
That's
special
exactly it.
occasions
Like, right,
and
we don't
right,
eat like that every day. The food
right.
was super high quality.
Oh yeah,
We
yeah,
did
for
not
sure.
eat a lot of everything. We weren't gluttons
Hmm.
about it, but we
No.
enjoyed various things that were served from cocktail hour, salad. Even the salad was awesome. The
Hmm.
dinner, and of course, we have to try the
The
desserts.
food truck.
The food
Oh,
truck. Oh, the food
yes,
truck.
yes.
Yeah, they topped it off at the end of the night. But the
Right.
desserts,
I didn't touch that.
I couldn't. I took care of yours for you. Don't worry.
I know.
They were top shelf, no question. All right, so Um, before I go into my wrap up topics, which are short and fast and fun, um, is there anything you want to say about? Actually, here I got something. So most people know that I'm like a strong 5 feet tall, right?
Yeah.
Maybe 130 pounds, 132 right now in the summertime, whatever, give or take a little. For context, what's your current height and weight?
I'm 6'2", 240.
Yeah,
No, you say 5. I say 5'3", right? It's likely 5'2".
right.
So yeah, and right now I would say my weight is about 128, 130.
Okay.
I
Okay.
know, I think no, probably about 128.
Right. So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, anybody
I
sees this in
fluctuate a
public,
little.
or
I experiment with my food, and I have a tendency to kind of fluctuate a few pounds.
right.
Never really up. It would typically just drop down a little bit.
Right.
But that's, experimenting to maybe an extreme extent,
Yeah.
just to
Yeah.
see how I respond to certain
Yeah.
things.
If anybody's wondering, we eat a lot of chocolate, both of us. Not
Every
not
day.
not a lot every day, but
Yeah.
consistently enjoy some chocolate every day. So my
Right.
fun question here, my first
But
fun
not
question.
Reese's and
No, no,
that
no.
kind of stuff,
And
right? It's
everybody who follows me knows that we eat good quality
okay.
chocolates, not junky, garbagey dollar store, or even
Right.
mass market, industrially produced chocolate. We eat quality chocolate of all sorts, and we try to go organic when possible. Right? Try to,
I'll
but
try. Yeah.
not
Yeah.
always.
Yeah.
Um, so before I get into our fun questions, again, if anybody wants to connect with us, come start with the freebies. And once you get on our freebies list, you'll be able to email us, and you'll either get myself or Marissa or possibly somebody else, depending on who might be helping at the time. But if you want to get in touch with us, get in touch with me, get in touch with Dom, or even just try the freebies and subscribe to things and start using these kinds of methods, go to fitnesstraining.live, fitnesstraining.live. Dom's direct email address is d.gennusa. It's D for Dominic, d.janusa, gennusa @yahoo.com. Right? If you email him and for some reason you don't hear back after a few days, that means you spelt it wrong, or the cyber filters got it and blocked it from getting to him, which happens a lot lately. Then come reach out to me, and I'll make sure that you get in touch with Dom to explore some possibilities. We are both very busy. We do have other people in the background that do help us. So even with that in mind, no matter where you are and you feel we can help you, logistics and geography do not matter. We could take care of all that. Just reach out and get in touch. So, first fun question. So far, what have you eaten today?
Oh, interesting. So I typically, as you know, I typically don't eat anything until about 12 o'clock. I do somewhat of a modified fast,
Right.
an 8-hour window where I eat. It feels natural to me. That's what I'm doing now. My first thing I had was, I call it breakfast ice cream. So I took almond yogurt, threw it in a blender, frozen strawberries, a little bit of almond milk, a little bit of vegan protein powder, a drop of stevia.
What time was this?
That was around 12 o'clock, a little before 12 o'clock, before we got on. Like,
Right.
I literally just finished. So I blended that up, and I make it thick, so it has the consistency of like an ice cream or a frozen yogurt, a little
What did you
between
call that
those two.
again?
Breakfast ice cream.
Breakfast ice cream. All right, this is going in the
Yeah.
show notes.
So I blend that up, and then to top it off, I have a few good treats on hand that I'll top it off with. So this was Nature's Path Organic Love Crunch cereal. Sprinkle some
Yeah.
of that on the top, and it's so good.
What did
I
you
have to
blend it
stop
in?
myself from pouring, extra doses of cereal.
Understood. What did you blend it in?
I used a blender.
Okay, straight up
Yeah,
blender. Cool.
just a straight up Oster blender, good old fashioned blender.
Right. Right.
Sometimes it takes, you have to move take a spoon and move it around a little bit
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
I like to keep it thick.
Right,
You can always add a little more liquid if you need. So that's
right.
what I had. That's something I have about once a week. That's kind of like a treat to me too. It's a little
Yeah,
more sweet than
yep.
I usually do,
But it
but
works.
it works. That's what I had today.
Okay, so far. Okay, so with that in mind, what's your fitness schedule look like today? What for you personally?
I actually did a routine already of leg exercises and shoulders.
Okay.
So I did a combination of some weights and
Mhm.
body weight leg exercises
This is in the
um,
garage, right?
in my garage. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that was all partly a product of COVID.
Right.
I used to always do some stuff at home and some stuff at a gym. I
Mhm.
no longer go to the gym. Don't feel a
Word.
need to. I
Mhm.
realize it's nice to have that extra time so I
Oh
can
yeah.
waste more time.
Agreed.
No, it's good to be around, my wife and daughter more,
Yeah.
and it
Of
allows me to
course.
focus on some other stuff too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did some good leg exercises. Again, with some weights, some without, and I did some shoulder exercises with sort of a mock-up of TRX suspension bands. This is a
Right.
rope I have around a pole. Very simple, but
Yeah.
very effective.
Oh
Feels
yeah.
great. I'd used a few dumbbells and some resistance bands.
Nice.
And I came up with a little circuit and I squeezed it in, and hopefully later I'll do some mobility core stuff and some stretching. I'm feeling a little tight
Right.
lately. I
Right.
was doing some other activities, being outside
Yeah.
in the summer, biking. I'm starting to feel some things I want to work on. So
Yeah.
um,
So that'll be
I'll
an
make a point
evening,
of doing some
evening,
stuff
evening,
later.
evening mobility flexibility session.
Yeah, just
Yep.
for a few minutes. I mean,
Yeah.
it could
Yeah.
be
I got
10
you.
minutes. And then, as you do, sometimes
Right.
we'll do a little after dinner walk.
Yes, sir.
It's not a power walk. We go out, my
No,
wife and I,
even all the
Liz
ones
and
we
I
did
go
up
out.
north, right? They
No,
weren't
it's
power
just,
walks.
yeah,
They were
yeah,
enjoyable, spending time together, but we
right.
walked.
That's right. Yeah.
Perfect.
Oftentimes done in Europe,
Exactly. No,
across many
I'm out
countries. You
every night.
eat and you
Last
walk
night when
home. And
you and I were talking, I was out there walking,
that's right.
right?
Yeah,
Um,
that's right.
so speaking before we go to the next quick one, speaking to your daughter Sophia, did she ever show you the COVID singing video we did together on Facebook Live? I didn't sing, but I pulled her on with the guitar. And she ever show you that?
No, I do know about it, but I haven't seen it.
It was good. We were going stir crazy. So I told Dara, I was like, get Sophia on the phone. Let's do like a double cam Facebook Live.
Uh-huh.
The people who saw it got a kick out of it, and she was great under the circumstances. It was actually
Right.
pretty good. Did she show you the mallow ball that I threw, the the marshmallow?
Yes, yes, I was there.
That's right. All right. Well,
Right.
I can't remember if you saw it or not, but
Yes.
that was good. She was a good sport. Um,
Uh-huh.
all right. So for me, people are thinking, well, what's this guy eat? So anyway, for anybody new here, you might be wondering, well, what's this guy's story? Bachelor's degree exercise science, master's degree exercise physiology. You already heard our childhood journey sparked by our father who was leading by example. In a future episode, we're going to talk about our mother. Are we not, Dom?
Oh, yes, we will.
Because
Yes,
everybody's wondering, well, what about
of
their
course.
mom? Like, what does mom, the V bomb, have to do with all this? Right?
Right.
Where's she at? Like, what's her status? It's a big subject. We went deep on
For
last
sure.
night's walking phone call, and
Mhm.
we do have to talk about it on an episode because I think there's more to come from all that. So the V bomb is going to be a subject. I'm going to reach out to her, Dom. I was thinking about this today. I think I'm going to reach out to her in the next day or two to open the conversation because
Okay.
it's actually the things you and I were talking about last night. We're starting to get a little stronger now
Mhm.
that we talked about it more. And so I think I'm gonna reach out. It might be tonight, it might be tomorrow, but this weekend or whatever. But just be prepared because I'm going to include all of us and Marissa too
Okay.
in the the reasons why and the love behind it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
All right,
Yeah, absolutely.
more to
Yeah.
come on that. Um, so we got that. We got the training, the food. All right. So one last thing, unless you could think of anything you want to talk about. Do you have anything else you want to talk about or mention after I give this last fun thing a whirl?
No, I don't want to extend this any longer to throw you off and confuse you, but of course, there's so many things to talk about. And I
Yeah,
think that's how
exactly.
this happened organically, because our conversations in private are oftentimes about what we ate, what we do, and talk. And
Right.
that's,
And
again, going back to how this happened.
insights, right. Insights
Yeah.
about specific clients. How did we deal with them?
Yeah.
What did we do? What steps did we take? And we share and
Hmm.
share. And we're like, there's so much valuable stuff we're sharing. People need to hear some of this at
Hmm.
least.
Yeah. Or your take on any new information you hear. And so
Right.
possibly sharing some more of that.
Or continuing to
Um,
bust the old myths that people still believe in.
right.
Right. We'll have
Right.
to do
Yeah.
more of that.
Yeah.
There's
Absolutely.
still a lot. I got some good ones
Yeah.
coming up. Okay. So
Mythbusters, Fitbusters.
Fitbusters. Ooh, let's save that in
Another
addition
name,
to
right?
Gen Flex. Yeah. So
Right. Right.
So, like I've been on and off watching some of these movies that are included with Amazon Prime, more documentary type things.
Yeah.
You still have to watch The Russian Five. You're going to
I
love it.
know. I know. I know.
You're
I
going to
know.
wish you watched it sooner. Okay. The Russian Five, because hockey was one of our things growing up. You should then watch Ice Guardians, which is about the fighting aspect of hockey and the
Oh,
the
okay. Yes,
historic.
I know about it. Okay.
Yeah, definitely worth watching. You'll think about everything in a different way. And then some of the life stories of the wrestlers from the
Those
WWF.
are pretty fascinating. I have
Yeah.
seen some.
All right. So we'll talk about those. But the one
Mhm.
I watched over the last 3 nights, I broke it up, was the resurrection of Jake the Snake.
Okay.
Remember Jake the Snake? He used to carry
I
the
do
big.
remember. Yeah.
Okay.
Jake the Snake Roberts.
So when I'm looking at the videos to select from, I'm thinking I'm going to spend an hour and a half of my time. I want to use it wisely. I want to learn
Hmm.
something, right? I want to be enriched somehow. I don't like watching like the typical racing, bang, shooting, like
Right.
killing,
Hmm.
typical same stories. I can't do that much anymore, if at all. So I watched that over 3 nights, and I must say, even though you might think it's like the focal point of the story is the wrestling stuff,
Hmm.
it's the foundational backdrop of a real, like, emotional roller coaster of a story of. I know I used to love wrestling when I was a kid. Like I
Oh,
was,
yeah.
right.
Yeah. I know. I know.
So watching some of these, it's like, wow, there are real challenging stories that these guys lived in their lives. And part of it has to do with the fame and the flexibility and the financial resources they accumulated in their entertainment profession. That was
Yeah.
part of their demise in later parts of life. Watching the resurrection of Jake the Snake, it's just a great story. I'm not going to give it away here, but when you should watch it at some point, you'll see, wow, these are the kinds of people we work with. Like,
Hmm.
he went downhill, maybe worse than others with some addictions and stuff. But he
Right.
got to a point where it was time to be saved. And this guy has a whole family, like kids and grandkids, and lots to live for. Uh, but then watching how he came back health wise are
Hmm.
some valuable lessons in there. Not everything was perfect, but whatever they did worked. And I give Dallas Diamond Page,
Hmm.
former wrestler, DDP,
Right.
much
Hmm.
credit for what he's doing. I may actually reach out to him after seeing this, because he was the one who was in charge of Jake's comeback, his
Okay.
rebirth to health and life.
Hmm.
Okay. He's got a place in Atlanta, and it's called DDP Yoga. And it looks like he does most of it out of his house. And he
Okay.
brings people in and he rehabilitates them. So, and seeing that he was a former professional wrestler, pretty successful in his own right, to see what he's doing now and the position he holds for these guys
Hmm.
who've lost themselves and have gotten way off track but are still alive, and what he does for them and other people also that come to him. It was a great story, great
Oh,
lessons,
wow.
great
Fascinating.
insights.
I'll put
Yeah,
it on my list. Yeah.
yeah, put it. Definitely worth the watch. And we'll circle back and talk about it in the
Hmm.
future. And we'll add that to the mix, because definitely some great lessons in there for anybody to
Mhm.
to benefit from and use in life. So that's all I've got. You have anything, any parting
No,
words for this specific episode, episode 2 of season 2, before we wrap it up?
no parting words. No, I
All
think
right. This was
it was a
awesome.
fun time, and yeah, like I said, there honestly is so much to talk about, and
Yeah. Yeah. We just scratched the
um,
surface today, really,
just
on a bunch
scratching the
of things.
surface. Yeah, yeah.
All right. So thank you for making the time for doing this. I know a lot of people are going to get a lot out of this, not just when I publish it, but for months and years to come, because this
Hmm.
is evergreen material. Anybody want to reach out, you know how to do that. Wherever you're watching or listening to this, come reach out to us. I'm on Facebook. You can find me at Joey Atlas Fitness. That's another way to join the free group. You can connect with me there. The links I mentioned before, Dom's personal email, if you want to get in touch with him. We can help you no matter where you live in the world. That's the main thing. We have technology that allows us to do that. We can also travel now, since travel has opened back up. If we need to travel on site, we can help you, your family, your small or medium-sized business implement a corporate wellness program. We're big on mindset. If you haven't realized that, we're telling you straight up, we're big on mindset and a different methodology on how we do all this stuff. And that's our unique positioning. That's the unique way, the special way that we help lots of people in ways that they couldn't be helped before. And if it's you, we look forward to helping you too. So peace, love, and light. Keep letting your light shine bright. Dom, love you.
Love you too.
I'll talk to you later. I'm going to hit end, but don't hang up, because I'm going to wrap it up with you after we let this record. Anybody
Got it.
else, come reach out to us and find us. And if not, we'll be back for episode number 3 next week or the week after. Peace.